Hello students, we meet again in meeting 13. Here we are going to talk about business presentation and how we deal with introduction, outlining, and also close the presentation. It's not difficult to do business presentation, especially when you do it in English, because what you have to know is you use the phrase and also you can memorize all the phrases that you can also say during the presentation. How we do it, we just go right away to the material. Okay, so this is the useful phrases and strategies for presentations. We start from introduction and after that we go to the outlining and closing. How we deal with that? We start from introduction first. For introduction, how we do welcoming and greeting the audience. Pertama, just choose one of the statements there, so you can just decide which one is proper for your presentation. Yang pertama, hello everyone. I'd like first of all to thank the organizers of this meeting for inviting me here today. So if you are invited for having a presentation, you can also say this to your organizer who invite you. And another example is, good morning everyone and welcome to my presentation. First of all, let me thank you all for coming here today. Or you can also say, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to have the opportunity to address such a distinguished audience. Or you can also say, hello or hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. It's a simple one. You can choose one of them. Then we go to introducing yourself. What should we do? When you want to introduce yourself, you can also mention name, position, and responsibilities. So you don't need to do a very long introduction because it will take time. Apa yang harus kita kerjakan? You can just choose one of them. Number one, you can say, let me introduce myself. I'm Jan Novak from Maastricht University in Bern, Czech Republic. It's very simple and short, so you can use this, or you can use another one. Let me start by saying just a few words about my own background. I'm a PhD student of geography at Maastricht University in Bern, Czech Republic. So you can also use this. If you are a student, you can mention that what student are you? And then the last one is, for those of you who don't know me already, my name's Yofi, and I'm responsible for meeting and presentation topic. So you can just choose this. It's simple. That's for introducing yourself. Now we go to saying what your topic, title, or subject is. Just choose one of them. Again, just choose one of them. Kamu tidak perlu pilih semuanya. And choose which one is proper for your presentation. Example, what I'd like to present to you today is mention your topic or your title or your subject. Or another one, as you can see on the screen, our topic today is mention your topic. The subject or focus or topic title of my presentation, talk, speech is, you can choose one. You can mention the subject, title of my presentation, speech is, or you can also say the topic of my presentation, speech is. You can choose one. Another one, in this talk, I would like to concentrate on, so you can mention the topic or you can just choose I, change it with we if you are more than one person. And the next one is, in my presentation, I would like to report on what is the thing you want to report. You can mention the topic, the subject, or the title. And the last one here is, I'm here today to present. What do you want to present? So you can mention the topic, the title, or subject. You can choose. That's for saying what your topic. Then we go to explaining why your topic is relevant for your audience. Sekarang kita masuk ke bagian kenapa topik ini relevan untuk audience kamu. Choose one of the statements there. Number one, today's topic is of particular interest to those of you who blah, 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 who what. So mention the specific case. My talk is particularly relevant to those of you who, okay, who is the audience? You can mention that. By the end of this talk, you will be familiar with what is the main case you want to explain in front of the audience. So you can mention that after the statement. You can choose one of them. Then we go to stating your purpose or objective. It's very important in presentation because if you do not mention why you do the presentation, why you present it, and it will make the audience become clueless about your presentation. So you can just choose one of them. Number one, the purpose or the objective or the aim of this presentation is to, so you can mention one of them, or you can also say, today I'd like to give you an overview of what, you can mention it. Or number three, I'd like to update you on or inform you about or put you in the picture about or give you the background to or present the results of my research. What is your research? You can mention that after that. And the next one is during the next 20 minutes will be. So if you really know, you know exactly how long you are going to do the presentation, you can mention the time in the statement. And this talk is designed to act as a springboard for discussions. You can also use this. This morning, I'm going to be talking to you about or telling you about or showing you how to deal with or taking a look at the recent development in or reporting on the results of the study we carried out. So you can mention that too. And the last one you can choose, what I'm going to do or what I intend to do is describe to you or show you or tell you about what. So you can mention that. It's so easy. You can just choose one of the stating of your purpose or objectives there. And then presenting the outline or organization or structure of your presentation. You can just choose one of them. Number one, you can say, I've divided my presentation into three main parts. So you can mention the parts. And after that, in my presentation, I'll focus on three major issues. So if you know exactly how many things you are going to deal with to explain, you can mention the number. We thought it would be useful to divide our talk into three main sections, or you can also say, we can break this area down into the following fields. Mention the fields. The subject can be looked at under the following headings, or we have organized this talk in the following way. This presentation is structured as follows. This talk will cover two current theories on the topic of, so you can just choose, mention the topics that you want to mention in this in the presentation. That's for presenting the outline. Then we go to sequencing. Sequencing means that you go from one part to another part. So it's just like a transition between one part to another part. You can just choose one of the statement here. My first point concerns, or you can say I'll begin or start off by, or then I'll move on to, or then next after that I'll be looking at. So you can mention that, you can choose it. Or you can also say first, or first of all, I'd like to give you an overview of what. Mention. Then after you finish, you can say secondly, or then, or next, or I'll focus on. And then after that, you can say thirdly, and then, or we'll consider for the third part. And then for the last part, you can say finally, lastly, last of all, I'll deal with. And then another one you can say, so I'll begin by filling you in on the background too, or bringing you up to date on, or giving you an overview of the history of, or making a few observations about, or outlining. And after that, you can mention what you want to outline. And then I'll go on the highlight what I see as the main points of, or put the situation into some kind of perspective, or discuss in more depth the implications of, or take you through, make detailed recommendations or regarding. You can mention what you want to regard. And after that, one thing I'll be dealing with is the issue of. It's very simple, you can choose. And after that, I'll end with, this is how you end your presentation. And finally, I'd like to address the problem of, or to raise briefly the issue of. So you can also mention that when you want to end up the presentation explanation. Then go with the timing. For the timing, you should know that this should only last 20 minutes if you know how many minutes you have for your presentation. And after that, you can also say my presentation will take about 20 minutes. Or you can also say it will take about 20 minutes to cover this issue. So at least the audience can figure out how long they will listen and focus on your presentation. Next is about handouts. Handouts. Why? You can say, does everybody have a handout or brochure or copy of the report? Please take one and pass them on. If you want to share the handout, you can mention that. Or you can also say, I'll be handing out copies of the slides at the end of my talk. It means that at the end of your talk, the audience will get your handout or your copy of your presentation. And the next one is, I can email the PowerPoint presentation to anybody who wants it. So it means that no handout in print. So you can share the presentation via email. And don't worry about taking notes. I've put all the important statistics on a handout for you. So it means that you want your audience only focus on you. Do not make a note because you are going to share the handout to them after the presentation. Questions. This is the last part. For the question, you can say, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me at any time. It means that in your presentation, you open the questions for anyone, anytime. So no specific timing for questions. And the next one, you can also say, please interrupt me if there is something which needs clarifying. Otherwise, there'll be time for discussion at the end. So they can interrupt you if they need to clarify something, but still for the questions, they will do it in the end of the session. So there will be the specific session for that discussion. And you can also say, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, I'll be happy to answer them. So this is at the part of discussion section. If you don't mind, we'll leave questions till the end, or there will be time for question after my presentation. So you literally mentioned that there will be a discussion session after your presentation. So it's clear that all the audience will give the questions at the end of the presentation session. So that's all about the explanation, the useful phrases or strategies you can use for doing presentation. I will give you more explanation by video sharing after this video, and I hope you can understand. And if you still have questions about presentation, you can just ask me right away in the group, then we can discuss further. Okay, so that's all for today's explanation about business presentation. Thank you so much for your attention, and anything, ask me. For the assignment, I'll share you in Edmodo, and please submit that on time. Thank you so much for today, and good luck.
Hey practitioners, today I'm going to be teaching you, with the help of my friend Dana Bluen, the top 7 tips for a great presentation. Dana Bluen is an entrepreneur currently living in Bangkok, Thailand, where he is a co-founder and CEO of a company called Mango Labs. Anyways, here's some of his tips. We all have to give presentations at different points in our life. That might be for school or work or an organization that you are involved with. No matter where we give the presentation or to who, we want to make sure that it has the impact on the audience and that it's memorable. These are 7 tips that are going to ensure that you nail the presentation and leave a lasting impression on your audience. Number 1, know your audience. The first step in preparing for any presentation should be to get a better idea of who your audience is. Knowing your audience will allow you to understand the type of content they are going to be expecting with regards to depth and technical detail. You wouldn't want to give the same presentation to a group of high school students who are interested in entrepreneurship that you would to a room full of startup founders and CEOs, because their expectations and level of understanding will be on completely different levels. Dig up as much as you can about who your audience is, what industries they work in, and what positions they generally hold. This allows you to really tailor the content and delivery of the presentation in a way that will really make it stand out and be memorable. Too many times people give killer presentations at one venue to a group made up of their core audience and then bomb on the same presentation to a different group because they didn't make the changes they needed to better address the new audience. Just because you kill it in one audience doesn't mean the same exact content will replicate the reaction with all audiences. Number 2, use structures to build on ideas. If you stand up and give a presentation and all the points you want to make are just tossed around randomly and they don't make any sense, not too many people are going to enjoy your presentation, and if they remember it, it's likely that it's not for the reasons that you want them to. However, if you structure your presentation in a way that each idea, each section builds on the one before it, you help your audience connect with the content and create logical links between the concepts. This is a great way to make more complex ideas easier for the audience to understand and remember. Number 3, use visuals. Another great tool to cement those ideas in the mind of your audience is to use visuals like charts, graphs, and infographics to illustrate and communicate a concept. As many as 65% of people are considered to be visual learners. So if you don't take this approach in your presentation, you are going to ignore the vast majority of the population. Using an image, regardless of if it's a picture, graph, or chart, can be a much more potent conveyor of information and has a much more powerful impact on the audience. A single image can convey so much information. Just like the old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. It really is. Think of the impact this can have when explaining data or results in a presentation. If you had to stand there in front of your audience and go through every data point verbally, it can get bad quickly. And this is much more common of an occurrence than you might think. But if you're able to visualize that data for your audience with a graph or chart, you instantly make it much more understandable and memorable. Showing someone 200% growth with a graph is much more exciting than explaining it while they're looking at the raw data. For example, if I took away the screen of this video and all you saw was black, it wouldn't be near as exciting. Number 4, repetition is your friend. Having a bit of structure in your presentation goes a long way in keeping the audience engaged because they can follow the information from step to step. But even more than just structuring the flow of the presentation, you also want to build in repetition. This encourages people to remember the key points of the presentation and helps it stick, which again makes it, and you, more memorable. A classic way to go about repetition is something Dana learned early on when he started his public speaking career. Another speaker at a big regional tech event came up to him after a talk and complimented Dana on his delivery and the depth of the material, but asked why he didn't use more repetition. Dana was a bit stumped because he never really thought about that before. The other speaker suggested that Dana start telling the audience what it is he wanted to tell them, just to give them a brief rundown of the key points. After that, move right into the body of the presentation and tell them exactly what was highlighted at the beginning, but obviously with more detail and extra elements that you add in to make the presentation stick. Then end the presentation by telling them what you just told them, reminding them of the key points and a brief summary for final repetition. Using this technique helps to reinforce the main points of the presentation at least 3 times, at the beginning, middle, and end. The key is to find a way to do this that it feels natural and not overly scholastic, and that takes practice, which we'll talk about later on. Tip number 5, have a story to tell. The difference between an average presentation that people zone out of and a great presentation that keeps them engaged is how you convey the information to the audience. A great way to convey the information or key points of your presentation is to use a story. By using a story, preferably an interesting one, you get your point across and you're creating a moment in the presentation that is memorable and easier for the audience to recall later. It's also hopefully going to be something that catches their attention, pulling them into what you were saying. One of the keys here though is that it has to be a story you can tell with commitment, and it has to be true. Always be honest with your audience because if you're not, they will know and you will have lost all credibility. Tip number 6, be relatable. Being relatable is actually one of the most important factors of your delivery. You want to be someone that your audience can relate to, that they would feel comfortable with talking to. Even when giving a talk as an expert on a topic, you want the audience to feel the relation. It helps them mentally engage with your content and remember you and your talk. Most people don't feel comfortable going up and talking to a stern authority figure, and no one wants to listen to someone with no confidence. So there's a fine balance you need to strike, and here's how. The most important thing you can do to come across as more relatable is to be authentic. Be yourself. Another great way to accomplish this is to work on coming across as relaxed, which can be difficult if you're not used to presenting, but this goes a long way to helping people see you as relatable. The final way you can be more relatable is to be enthusiastic about your presentation. Your enthusiasm will transfer to your audience, and now that you have enthusiasm in common, you will begin to see as more relatable. If you can get all 3 of these techniques mastered, you will be well on your way to making it to your audience relate to you. Tip number 7, build your confidence with practice. This might be the last tip, but it is by far the most important one out of these 7. Confidence in what you do is by far the most important element of your presentation. Having confidence adds an authority to everything you say during your presentation, but you're not going to develop the confidence you need if you don't practice, and practice a lot. Whenever Dana gives a talk or presentation, he practices. He says for hours. Dana wants to make sure he has the timing down, that he knows every slide so he doesn't have to read off them. He knows what the next slide is so he can smoothly transition between them so that he will sound natural and authentic, and can explain the concepts and tell the stories with confidence. And this all comes with practice. When you are practicing a presentation, it's not enough to sit in front of your computer and go through it. You have to practice it in front of other people. Invite some friends over and have them give some feedback on your presentation and make improvements based on their feedback. No one gets it right the first time, but practice will get you towards perfect. With these 7 tips, you should be able to put together and deliver a masterful presentation that will wow your audience and make sure that they remember you and your topic. If you guys like this collaboration, be sure to check out Dana's YouTube channel and subscribe. He has tons of videos on entrepreneurship and self-development. I hope you guys liked this video and learned something, and if you did, click the like button, or if you haven't already, the subscribe button. Thanks so much, guys.
Welcome to Easy English.
Think English,
Think easy.
Hai Akademia Jogja, kita belajar bahasa Inggris sebentar yuk bareng aku Karlina Kuning. Easy English kita kali ini akan membahas bagaimana cara mengoutline. Mengoutline itu istilahnya menyampaikan kerangka presentasi. Apa yang akan kamu sampaikan dalam presentasi ini? Nah, itu perlu dikasih outline Akademia Jogja. Beberapa waktu lalu kita udah sempat membahas gimana cara membuka presentasi dalam bahasa Inggris. Kenapa habis itu yang aku bahas adalah outline? Karena kita memang perlu memberitahu kepada audience what will they get nih from the presentation. Nah, memberi kerangka presentasi ke mereka itu adalah memberi garis besar apa yang akan disampaikan di dalam presentasi kamu. Biasanya kamu akan bilang, I would like to talk to you today about gitu. Saya akan berbicara kepada Anda tentang itu mah biasa, Akademia Jogja biasa. Mana yang spesial? Yang spesial itu I have divided my presentation into several parts or several sections. They are 1, 2, 3, 4 gitu. Jadi kamu bisa memberikan outline kepada audience kamu. Saya telah membagi presentasi saya ke dalam beberapa bagian gitu. So you can say I have divided my presentation into several parts, or I have divided my presentation into several sections. They are 1, 2, 3. Udah mulai tuh slide-nya. Apa aja yang akan kamu sampaikan di situ gitu. I break this presentation down into several heading. Saya membagi presentasi ini ke dalam beberapa heading. Firstly, secondly, thirdly, and finally. Gitu ya. Asik banget nih outlining-nya. Gimana? Simpel dan gampang kan? Kalau kamu masih mau belajar dengan lebih fun lagi lewat buku-bukuku, kamu bisa pesan via Sentra Inspirasi. Buat lebih detailnya, silakan klik deskripsi di bawah video ini ya. Kalau kamu masih ada pertanyaan, kamu bisa follow atau mention di Twitter aku @karlinakuning. Finally, selalu berpikir bahwa bahasa Inggris itu mudah ya, karena kita punya Easy English. Think English, think easy.
Welcome to Easy English.
Think English,
Think easy.
Hai Akademia Jogja, kita belajar bahasa Inggris sebentar yuk bareng aku Karlina Kuning. Beberapa waktu lalu Easy English sudah membahas bagaimana cara membuka presentasi dengan oke. Terus gimana cara giving outline. Nah yang terakhir nih biasanya bagian yang paling diharapkan oleh presenter, yaitu closing. Alhamdulillah closing juga gitu ya. Simple Akademia Jogja. Gimana cara closing? Nah sebenarnya kalau kamu mau closing dengan cara yang biasa aja, kamu cuma akan bilang that's all from us atau that's all from me, thank you for your attention. Itu mah biasa Akademia Jogja. Gimana caranya supaya lebih dari biasa, supaya spesial? Nah, biar keren, closing itu harus mengandung 4D. Yang pertama diindikasikan, kedua dikonklusikan, ketiga ditutup, terus yang terakhir dibuka pertanyaan. Jadi 4D tuh, diindikasikan, dikonklusikan, ditutup, kemudian dibuka pertanyaan. Diindikasikan itu apa? Kasihlah tanda-tanda kalau presentasinya tuh mau kelar gitu, mau selesai. Biar audiensnya gak kaget ketika udah closing, hah? Udah selesai? Oh udah selesai gitu. Jadi mereka juga gak akan kaget gitu. Contohnya, ketika kamu mau mengindikasikan bahwa presentasimu itu udah selesai dalam bahasa Inggris, kamu bisa bilang, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Itu membawaku ke akhir dari presentasi ini. You can also say that covers all I wanted to say today. Jadi hal itu mencakup semua yang ingin saya katakan hari ini. Nah, habis diindikasikan, ditarik kesimpulannya ya kan, dikonklusikan, disimpulkan. Bilang I will briefly summarize the main issues. 1, 2, 3 gitu. Jadi artinya adalah saya akan merangkum dengan singkat isu-isu utama dalam presentasi ini. Nah, habis itu ditutup langsung dibuka sesi tanya jawab kan? Gimana tuh caranya? Thank you for listening. Let's throw it open to question. Jadi terima kasih sudah mendengarkan. Mari kita membuka pertanyaan. You can also say I hope you will have gained an insight into my topic. I would be glad to answer any question. Yang artinya adalah saya berharap Anda telah mendapatkan banyak hal dari topik saya ini dan saya akan dengan senang hati membuka sesi pertanyaan. Nah, gitu ya Akademia Jogja. Ingat deh, 4D dalam menutup presentasi versi Easy English. Yang pertama adalah diindikasikan, habis itu dirangkum atau dikonklusikan, yang ketiga ditutup, yang terakhir dibuka pertanyaan. Gimana? Simpel dan gampang kan? Kalau kamu masih mau belajar dengan lebih fun lagi lewat buku-bukuku, kamu bisa pesan via Sentra Inspirasi. Buat lebih detailnya, silahkan klik deskripsi di bawah video ini ya. Kalau kamu masih ada pertanyaan, kamu bisa follow atau mention di Twitter aku @karlinakuning. Finally, selalu berpikir bahwa bahasa Inggris itu mudah ya, karena kita punya Easy English. Think English, think easy.